So if you want to massively grow your business and you really are utilizing online marketing for lead generation, I want to share with you the SSF method. And this grid is going to really share with you just a really easy way to think about all the ways that you're marketing. Now, I came up with this about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's called the SSF method, or sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. And this really builds upon, if you're familiar with the ROI method, this is really inside of relevancy, the messaging. So about a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I came up with this to explain to a client. Obviously, it didn't look like this. It was just 3 letters at the time: sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. Okay, so basically what ends up happening is when we're marketing online, we're marketing to a lot of different people. Not everyone's ready to be able to buy from us. And depending on where you're marketing to, whether it's Facebook ads or YouTube ads or like your email list or a blog or whatever it may be, I found that most effective way is not just targeting people that are in the fast lane, but targeting people where they're actually to and thinking about how to target them in the most effective way. So sidewalkers, from a mindset perspective, and this all goes back to psychology, all goes back to the thinking of the people that we're actually being in front of. So somebody that's in the sidewalk, basically they have the symptoms of pain, but they don't necessarily know what the pain is. So someone might be in the 6-figure hamster wheel, so always having a difficult time being able to go through month after month, but they don't actually know the reason why, which of course is lead generation. So from that aspect, we need to, or you would need to, introduce the pain or problem, being able to show them that there's a relevant pain or problem so that they can admit it. In the slow lane, it's now to the fact that they've admitted to themselves that they have a pain or problem. Now they, of course, need to have a methodology that they can buy into, a methodology or a mechanism or a process that makes sense to them. And then secondarily, something that they can actually look up to. So of course, here is kind of almost 2 parts. They need to buy into your methodology and process first, and then they need to buy into you. So again, this is all about the relevancy aspect. You being a relevant person, a relevant brand that they're willing to buy into to say, yes, this makes sense. And then finally, the fast lane. This, of course, is where most people are, but only 3% of the market actually is, which is, of course, the person that says, you know what, this all makes sense. Now I want to go and be able to, what is the version of my reality that I want to have? What is the ever after I buy this and implement it into my life or my business or relationship or whatever it may be? So that's kind of the mindset aspect. Now, just so you know, we do have some resources attached to this video to be able to help you implement this a little bit more and allow you to have an understanding a little bit more. And if you don't want to go dive deep into the training, there's some stuff that allows you to implement this maybe a little bit faster. So then now we have to go to commitment level. So just think about it. Would you put it, if you're going down the side of the road, would you put a webinar in front of someone going down the side of the road? Of course not. Most people aren't going to say yes to a webinar if they're not actually interested. But if you gave someone a webinar or a training, it would make sense if they were, in that fast lane, right? If they were in a little bit more of the commitment. So the commitment here is about how much time. So if someone's in the sidewalk, less than 3 minutes. They don't actually care that much, and they're not going to commit that much time. In the slow lane, more like 5 to 15 minutes. So such as a video like this. This is a slow lane video at the end of the day, a slow lane training. And then in the fast lane, it's more like a more intense training, a book, a webinar, a phone call, something like that. From here, we look at what types of content. So in the sidewalk, we don't have a whole ton of time for actual content. So it's more along the lines of micro or short form actual content. In the slow lane, more like mini trainings, more like trainings like this, maybe longer form content, larger, tactical articles or listicle type of content, or things like a guide or a short book. And then, of course, in the fast lane, things like a phone call, things like a webinar, things that are, of course, take more than 15, 30, 60 minutes. And of course, once you have a person here, they're really in it. They're really looking to be able to make a decision because they know how much their new reality is going to really help them. In the frequency, this is essentially how often you're being in front of them. So this is by, email, retargeting, all these different types of things. And so, in retargeting and being in people's inbox, when someone is in the sidewalk, more like once a day at the maximum. And again, these are more of the maximums. 1 to 2 times a day when they're in the slow lane, and then twice a day in the fast lane. Now, if you dive into the ROI method, there's an element called omnipresence. And this is really what omnipresence is a piece of about. It's being able to time things at the right time with the right frequency, so we're able to take someone to a new level of thinking. So from here, we of course talk about tone. So tone is, in the sidewalk, very structured. We can't give a whole lot of our personality because someone doesn't care about us yet. In the slow lane, we can start bringing pieces out via storytelling. And then in fast lane, now we are actually getting paid for who we are, the unfair advantage of who we are and how we work and how we are really around a piece of the relevant side of really who we are. And people want to buy into that at the end of the day. Then from here, we have the lane changer. So the lane changer is what gets them to the next point, right? So the lane changer here is once someone has clarity of the pain or problem, they're going to go to the slow lane. Once somebody from here has clarity of the process and buys into who you are as an individual and has some level of trust, they're going to go to the fast lane. And then of course, once somebody is here, once they buy into their new reality and they understand what it looks like and how it all works, they of course become an actual customer. This piece here, CTA and distribution, just as the last 2 points. The CTA essentially for sidewalk is more information. For the slow lane is a deep dive into the process and mechanism and a deep dive into who you are. And then the fast lane is really the sale or the webinar or the point of entry to your world. And then of course, the last piece in terms of distribution in the sidewalk is a lot more on social media, a lot more, on micro content, perhaps your blog or even your email list. On top of that, in the slow lane, now we're getting into things more like guides, being able to get more into deeper email, being able to get into retargeting and much deeper retargeting, omnipresence marketing. And then of course in the fast lane, things like webinars and things of course that are longer, as we've said, in terms of distribution methods. So the idea here is that someone that comes into the sidewalk goes to the slow lane and from the slow lane into the fast lane. And so this is an idea for all of our marketing. So it doesn't matter if it's a marketing funnel, it doesn't matter if it's your Facebook videos, your YouTube videos, your emails, or whatever it may be. All of your marketing is almost 3 different funnels: the sidewalk funnel, slow lane funnel, and fast lane funnel. And what this allows us to do is have the right messaging, the right frequency, the right level of commitment, the right psychological triggers that happen at all 3 points. What most people do is they put everyone into this side. And the problem is that only 3% of your market is actually in that actual fast lane, which leaves out 97% of your market. So if you want to be really smart, we recommend for most entrepreneurs to start marketing in the slow lane and bringing people to the fast lane. This is going to allow for much higher prices when they come to the fast lane because they're not looking left and right at all your competitors. It's going to allow for better customers because they understand your process. And it's going to allow you to, over time, become a celebrity in your niche because your process, your mechanism is going to become famous inside of your niche and the people that you're actually showing up to every single day. So this is just one piece of relevancy and one piece of the ROI method that I thought was really, really important to be able to share with you so that you understand how messaging really works. Because this SSF method is life-changing for marketing. It's life-changing because you can now market to a larger group of people for far less money. Because the people in the sidewalk and the slow lane are far cheaper to access than the people in the fast lane. And then when you actually have someone's attention, you're going to be able to capture it and utilize it the right way. So hopefully this was helpful. And this is really what we do inside of the relevancy engine in our different programs. But more so than anything else right now, I want you to go and check out the ROI method. This is one of the very, very, very small pieces of the entire mechanism of being able to help you scale up your business by using really effective marketing. I'll see you soon. So if you enjoyed this content and you want more of it, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And if you want other entrepreneurs just like you to be able to also access this information, this knowledge, make sure you go ahead and share it with someone that means the most to you. Remember, as entrepreneurs, it's our job to be able to help other entrepreneurs continue to elevate, allowing us to evolve society and evolve our world. I'll see you next time.